Welcome again. This is session 3 of My City Academy, the virtual series. My name is Maria Corral. I'll be hosting My City Academy. I'm the Community Integration Coordinator for the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. Please take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat. Please list your name and your organization. And also, we had a 30-degree drop in weather last night. So it got me thinking about the different things that I did whenever the weather changed as a child. So briefly tell us, what is your most memorable experience, either in childhood or as an adult, that had to do with weather? And please do that in the chat. Today we have with us Kathy Cruzan and Victoria Aguilar with the Denver office of, with the Denver Human Services. Our office promotes a greater awareness and integration of immigrant and refugee residents in Denver. That's the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. We partner with community stakeholders and governmental agencies to develop and implement policies and practices and programs that influence the various paths of immigration integration. Basically, what we want to do is create a greater sense of community for all of our residents here in the city and county of Denver. My City Academy provides a path to creating a greater sense of community for our immigrant neighbors by getting to know their city. Before we start, we want to take a moment to remind everyone about the census. Please make sure that you, your family, your neighbors, your friends have all completed the census. Let's keep everyone accountable. That funding comes to help all of us. Plus, we're hoping here in Colorado, we're hoping that census count also brings us more representation in Congress on the national level. So if you have questions, like I said, today we have Victoria Aguilar and Kathy Cruzan, and then we'll have questions. And then please stay tuned for session 3 tomorrow, where we'll be talking with the Office of Financial Empowerment and Protection. And then, as always, we're going to have our parking lot session on Thursday at noon, where you can ask questions about any of the information that was provided this week. And whatever questions there are, I will do my best to get you those answers. Additionally, I want to remind everybody to please put your questions for the panelists in the Q&A. That's down here. The Q&A versus the chat, we're watching the chat just for kind of room conversations, but the Q&A we'll be watching specifically for any of the questions that you have for any of the panelists in their presentation. So at this moment, I'm going to hand it over to Victoria Aguilar, the Immigrant and Refugee Coordinator for Denver Human Services. She's also on the commission, sits on the commission as co-chair for the Denver Immigrant and Refugee Commission, and just a wonderful community advocate. She will be introducing Kathy Cruzan, who's the agency trainer. Take it away, Victoria.
Good morning, buenos dias, everybody. Thank you so much for participating in My City Academy. It's so important for our community to be aware of the resources that we have and that you are involved. As we like to say it, sometimes we know that our arms as the city agency reach far, but the community's arms reach further into the community. So thank you so much for participating today. Thank you so much for your leadership in the communities that you represent. And so I know we have a short time today. I will hand this over to Kathy Cruzan Ford in just a few minutes, but I wanted to introduce myself. Like Maria said, I work on the program coordinator for Immigrant and Refugee Services at Denver Human Services. A few years back, we determined that there was a need to have a specific program designated specifically for immigrants and refugees in Denver for 3 reasons. One, it aligns with our mission to protect those in harm's way. Two, we believe that the successful integration of immigrants and refugees is essential to maintaining Denver as a welcoming city. And three, we want to ensure access to our vital services that we provide for immigrants and refugees in our community. We know that of the 78 neighborhoods that are in Denver, each neighborhood is unique. Each neighborhood has at least a percentage of a foreign-born population. And so at Human Services, we do serve 1 in 3 community members in Denver. So we know that in our refugee and immigrant communities, our services are being accessed, and we want to make sure that we're providing it in the correct language. We want to make sure that there's access to those programs for immigrants and refugees, whether it's through FAD. So our assistance programs, we have 3 eligibility workers that work specifically with our resettlement agencies, and they answer questions through an inbox for any of our new arriving refugees. And or our Colorado, our child welfare services, we also have a specific unit dedicated for our unaccompanied refugee minor teens that are coming in. So throughout all of our programs, we just wanted to make sure that we are serving the immigrant and refugee population correctly, that we have a lens focused on serving them to the best that we can. So now I'll hand it over to Kathy Cruzan-Ford. She's our agency trainer. She's gonna talk, and she's more up to date about our emergency services that we've implemented since COVID that is going to really help you all be able to access our emergency services. And so Kathy, take it away.
Great, hello everybody. Nice to see you. Again, I'm Kathy Cruzan-Ford. I'm the agency trainer for the core division, that's community outreach and resource engagement. So our mission statement, I love this. Partnering with our community to protect those in harm's way and help all people in need. And we like to add no exceptions to that, honestly. And then our vision is building that healthy community where everybody is connected, supported, safe, and well. This is our value sphere. I love this because this is how we put our strategic plan together. And this is our campaign. It's called #BeHuman. Together we've got this. So with this value sphere, again, we talk about a healthy and connected community, network of opportunity, and essential services. And every single goal that we put together includes the items on the left where you see equity and access, connectivity, safety and wellness, economic resilience, and workforce. And this delves a little bit deeper into the value sphere. And again, not to repeat, but the healthy and connected community, the network of opportunity, and again, identifying the root causes and addresses the needs of the whole person. And then our essential services, which have integrity, kindness, and respect, all wrapped in, holistic approach, wraparound services. This is our division, and this is very tiny on the screen. So I'm going to actually go to the next screen, please, where you can dig in a little deeper. You will see where we have the assistance division. You also have protection and operations, and over to the right, you have community outreach and resource engagement. That's core. That's what I'm a part of. Victoria had mentioned the assistance division, or FAD, that's family and adult assistance. They typically process the food, the medical or Medicaid, and also cash programs like Colorado Works, TANF, and old age pension, etc. And then community outreach team does the same work as well. But I wanted you to see this because I always like to know who's in charge and who we answer to, and then what's involved in our chart. So we're going to talk today about the emergency assistance. Prior to COVID, it was called general assistance. But in community outreach, we have so much going on. The complex care team that also involves our behavioral health navigators. We have employment first, which goes hand in hand with food assistance, general assistance, emergency assistance, which we're going to talk about. Then you have our Give Center. You have refugee and immigrant services, which Victoria is our advocate. And then you have veteran services. This is general assistance prior to COVID-19. That's what it's called. Now we've added an additional title, emergency assistance. You can see it encompasses so many things. Emergency shelter for families, rental assistance, deposit, eviction, and mortgage assistance. You have burial assistance. You have family reunification, and then food and pharmacy vouchers. I'm going to actually take over the presentation, and I'm going to actually show you how you can apply for some of these programs that we're mentioning. I'm going to do that right away. And with Denver Human Services, you type it in, it'll take you to the web page. You're going to scroll down and get to additional assistance page right here. You would click on that, and you'll see it shows you the different types of assistance beyond food, cash, med. So starting out with emergency assistance, this is the rent, utility, phone bill. You have the ability to go online and submit an application immediately. And so I'm going to click on here where it says Denver residents. This is important. You must be a Denver resident within 30 days. So you just click here, and it's going to give you some options: deposit, eviction, mortgage, first month's rent, also storage in Excel. You fill this out, and then from here you would submit this application. That gets the ball rolling. In that PowerPoint that we will go back to in a second, it also talks about some other criteria and some forms that you will look at in order for you to determine whether you're eligible or not. Maria is going to be sending you that link for you to look at those documents, but it starts out, with 3 simple questions. One being, I can prove that I've been in Denver County for the last 30 days, and I have not received rental assistance within the last 12 months from Denver. And then also my monthly income is below the chart that is shown there. And the beautiful thing about this is with general assistance or emergency assistance, we don't look at gross income like you do for food or med or cash programs. We look at net income. So a lot more folks may be eligible for this program. So very quickly, again, our main web page. And if you skip that first page, you can also come down here to apply for assistance. And I just wanted to highlight this as well, because it gives you more information about how to apply for general assistance, emergency assistance, and also gives you more eligibility criteria. And then you'll see on every single one of our web pages on the right-hand side, it also lists other partners that may be involved. So I wanted to share that with you and how easy it is for you to go online and start applying for these benefits for emergency assistance. So I'm going to take it back to Maria to go back to the PowerPoint, and we can talk a little bit more about our screens and the PowerPoint presentation. And real quick, I do see a question asking if this is the easiest way for Spanish-speaking residents to apply for emergency assistance. Yes. At this point, we are taking applications this way. And also know this, it has the ability for you to put in other additional information saying you may be doing this application for a client or a family member, and they would request to have translation services. They are mentioned being bilingual. Getting back to that initial screening, this is a screenshot of what I just showed you, but at the bottom it has the ability to write that information in. They are not taking any paper applications per se at this point. However, I want to be able to give you a phone number if you want to reach out to general assistance. It's not very well advertised at this point. They want you to do the screening tool first. However, if you do have questions, I can provide that phone number to you as well. We've made some adjustments because of COVID-19. We have more funding that's in place, and that's why our income limits have changed and more people are eligible. Again, this is an example of the application, and it goes step by step. You will see the net income that is listed here. So more folks are going to be eligible. So that's when you have your gross income and you subtract the different expenses and basically what you have left. This is what we take into consideration for this. Also understanding there's a pot of money for emergency assistance. The question comes up about individuals, if they're undocumented, if they're eligible to apply for this program. And in Denver, yes, they are. There's 2 different pots of money. And so this is available almost basically for anyone that needs help. Emergency shelter. These are for families, and these are for families that present in Denver and they're homeless and they need to be placed. We have the ability to do that, but currently our staff are doing very limited outreach. They are starting to go out into the community more. But that being said, if someone presents in Denver and they need sheltering for their family, we're going to direct them to the Samaritan House. Can you scroll to the next screen, please? Also the Gathering Place and the VOA Mission. This gives you more information about where they can show and where they can request to get these services. And what we're doing also is case management with these folks and trying to get them into transitional housing so they don't have to stay in the motels. If you do not have children and you present in Denver, we're going to direct you to some of the many shelters that are available. And actually on our website, if you go into the housing and shelter webpage, it'll give you those locations as well. This talks about rental assistance. And again, the range is for between 200 and 400% of federal poverty level. And we talked just a couple seconds ago about the net income standards. Here's what happened prior to COVID. You would say, I need rental assistance. And we would say, okay, we can give it to you this month. However, are you able to sustain that yourself the following month? If you told us, no, you couldn't pay for that the following month, we would direct you elsewhere. Example, to TRUA, Temporary Rental Utility Assistance. That's calling 311. Now, we do make exceptions because of COVID-19, and we have that additional funding to be able to help you in this situation. So again, fill out that application online, submit it, and we will triage the case, and we do it on a case-by-case basis. And I can say, not this weekend, the weekend before, we got hit with 63 applications right away for eviction assistance because of what was potentially going to happen. Deposit assistance, again, that criteria about 30 days, and you must be in a homeless setting to qualify. And typically it may be in one of the shelters. You could get a letter from that organization. Also, when you talk to us or a case manager talks to you, they can provide or they can get that information and also do a collateral contact or get a hold of that organization. And again, it talks about being able to maintain the unit on your own. Eviction or mortgage assistance. It says a verifiable emergency. We've seen situations, obviously with COVID-19, where folks haven't been able to work. The unemployment allotment that was $600 additional that came from the federal government had gone away. And so those would be some examples. We're going to ask for different verification, and that's on that list that I gave you a screenshot and that Maria will give you a link to. And again, because of those funding streams now, because of COVID-19 getting extra help from the federal government, we're going all the way up to 400% of federal poverty level. And you will see that, again, I'll show this, where you have the two different columns for the net income, and one is for mortgage assistance only. So you could take a look at that document and you can reach out. And again, any questions, I will provide that phone number for you. Family reunification is huge. We've had situations where clients have wanted to get back home. Let's say they moved to Colorado and now they're in dire straits and they need to get back to, let's say, Washington or California, or even just across town. Let's say they want to get to Pueblo. We have the ability to help with that as well. Now, I want you to see on the very bottom line where it says able-bodied people do not qualify. They must use day labor. You can cross that out. Right now, we don't expect folks to go and try to do day labor if it's not safe with COVID-19. So we have crossed that out. We are opening up the criteria to help people. And we don't just ship out our homeless either. That was a rumor. We call and make sure there's someone on the other end to help them and not have them be by themselves, or, you know, say we ship them to another state, California, where the situation is dire there as well. We're going to make sure there's someone on the other end to take care of them. That's real important. Okay. I'm going to look at the chat real quick for deposit assistance. How do they show they're able to maintain the unit on their own? Again, it's a case-by-case scenario. we may say, you know, I want to apply to move into an apartment, but I have a roommate. Talk to our general assistance workers, and they may be able to have the other roommate also apply for assistance too. So we want to make sure you understand that. And it says, if an agency is supporting them with rental assistance, does that allow them to qualify? Yeah, they still may be able to qualify. Again, this is all being done on a case-by-case basis because we have the additional funding. So rules prior to COVID-19 were a little strict, but now because we do have that extra funding, we've been able to have a little wiggle room with how we process these cases. Good question. Our food and pharmacy vouchers, these are typically when we have a help desk ticket. Something is wrong with Colorado Benefits Management System. Their case is in pending status and they need food, or they need to also get the voucher for King Soopers to get, you know, their medical benefits or pharmacy supplies. So we will do that again on a case-by-case basis, but it's typically because of Colorado Benefits Management System going down. So I wanted to put that out there. Okay, and there was another question here about, because the rental assistance is different than TRUA, can you talk about a bit more about how they differ and how someone should apply? Here's my honest opinion. Start out with us. Start out, we will then look at all the criteria, and we may say, okay, your income, you make too much money, we're going to direct you to TRUA. That seems to be the biggest difference, is just folks being over income for our program. However, because of COVID-19 funding, we bumped up where we weren't there in the past. I know with TRUA, in the past, they would pay 2 months, 80% of your rent. I know with other measures in place, it was bumped all the way up to 100% and paying 2 months. So that's a little different. But again, reach out to us. Any other question there? I think I've got that.
So, yes. Kathy, what's the difference between TRUA and then the assistance with human services?
As I mentioned,
where does TRUA come from?
Temporary rental utility assistance, and it's through the city and county of Denver. And I have limited information about TRUA, but I wanted to mention it. What I had known prior to COVID, it was paying 80% of your rent for 2 months. With us, prior to COVID, we would only pay 1 month, and it would be the full allotment. However, our income limits were different. If you made a little bit more money, then you weren't eligible for a program. We then moved you to TRUA. So again, start out with us. We can go ahead and, you know, because of the additional funding, be able to offer you that assistance. If it looks like you're not eligible, again, because of the income guidelines, then we're going to direct you on to TRUA. And I hope that makes sense. And I see someone has another question in here. I've been working with a family of 2 for almost 3 months. DHS had the family in emergency shelter and not able to find placement. How can we better assist a family without documents and without income or housing? I would reach back out to us again. And again, sometimes it may be difficult with transitional housing, but I'm always willing to review it. You have my email. I can direct it on to our supervisors and see if there's another good way we can help get the folks into transitional housing. I know it's difficult times right now, and there's a lot of organizations that aren't able to help. We also have our special commission through the city and county of Denver called Host Housing Stability. There might be some resources there as well. But again, you're always welcome to reach out to me via my email, send me encrypted email, or just send me an email and say, Kathy, I have some questions about this case, and I can do further review. The burial assistance, this we've seen an influx because of COVID-19. What I wanted to let you know is if you have lost someone and you are going to be, if you are going to the mortuary, and they're quoting you a price, don't sign any contracts yet, but do let them know that you're applying for general assistance through the city and county or any other county office. And here's the reason why. In some cases, a mortuary may quote you a price between $4,000 or $6,000. And then you come back to us and we're like, we're not going to be able to honor that. But if you tell that mortuary, I'm applying for general assistance through the city and county of Denver, they won't quote you any more than the $2,500. So that being said, you won't receive $2,500 from us. The most we can provide is $1,500, but that's after we look at the deceased resources and assets. So again, just wanted to make sure everybody understood that the most that person typically can get is $1,500 after we look at their assets and resources. There's a phone number. Pamela Cortman took over the program. Sherry Madden was doing it for over 23 years, and Pamela is new to it, and she does the appointments now. And they are seeing an influx of cases, again, because of COVID-19. And there was a question about Section 8 housing and if they still could be qualified, and I believe they can, but I will get back to you on that question. Maria, I'll make sure I get that back to you to address to everyone about Section 8. The next is our Give Center. That's our charitable arm of Human Services, and right now we are closed. You can always drop off documents at any one of our 3 branch locations. However, if you are dropping off the general assistance information that is listed here, you have a couple different options. You can only drop it off though at our Castro building, 1200 Federal Boulevard. So I wanted to put that out there before I forget. Then getting onto our Give Center, charitable arm of Human Services. We have our center. It's going to be a marketplace. It will be a food pantry. There'll be clothing. There'll be hygiene products. So stay tuned. There's more to come with that. But in the meantime, we are closed and we hope to reopen as soon as it's safe for everyone. We are going to be piloting some programs where we may take clients one at a time. So stay tuned. Once we have it open, I will make sure we get that to you. And you also have the email for Dhs Resource Hub at denvergov.org. Let's say you need a list of resources that can provide baby supplies, or let's say you're coming out of incarceration and you want reentry services, resources for housing. They put lists together and they typically do it biannually. So between the Give Center resources and also 211, you will know a lot of what is open in Denver and also what is available as far as resource lists. So I wanted to make sure you understood that as well. I see a question as far as as relates to public charge, and it would not count. It would not disqualify you with public charge. Also the pandemic EBT that you might have heard about, that's funding for individuals whose children were receiving the free lunch program. They could be compensated. The pandemic EBT would also not count against the public charge. Is there someone in DHS advocating for people with disabilities? Yes, actually, we do have our meal levy program. Crystal Porter does that program. We also have other offices within City and County of Denver that does that as well. And I can provide that link to you too. I provide a Navigator 1.0 training every month, and it goes over all the different subcategories. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me with an email and I can get you signed up for that as well. Locations and services, as I mentioned, all of our buildings are pretty much closed. We do have staff at the Castro building on the first level that are taking documents in and also answering questions. We're not advertising that per se because we don't want people to assume that we are open and see everyone coming in. You have our customer service phone numbers, which I've heard has been inundated. I have other ways or abilities for you to reach out. There's a contact list I give for all the different subdivisions that you can reach out by phone or by email too, and I'll share that with Maria as well. The document runner service. This is something for brand new applicants for food, med, and cash programs. But here's what's important. You need something picked up. You're not able to get out. We have a lot of clients that have this difficulty. You can call that number at 720-944-1520, and they can actually come and they will pick up the general assistance verifications or checklist documents, as I mentioned earlier. So it's between 8 and 4:30 on the weekdays. This service is available, again, to Denver residents and includes the TANF Colorado Works applications, SNAP, which is food assistance and Medicaid, also child care assistance, utilities for LEAP. Open enrollment for LEAP will be in November 1st. So a lot of folks may want to use this service for that. Also your EBT cards, that's electronic benefit transfer cards. That's what you use when you have a food assistance allotment or cash allotment. So some folks, let's say typically homeless that don't have a mailing address, they have the ability to call in and make an appointment, and that's on the next slide. But here is, again, if you have an existing case, you can reach out here or contact their eligibility technician or go online. This is a heat map showing where our document runners have been out in this city. And you can see it spread out quite a bit. Where we have gone, clients have called saying, please drop off an application, and then we'll go and pick it right back up after they're finished. So please be aware of this. Use that phone number and have them come and pick up the documents for you. And again, this was about the EBT pickup I just mentioned. You want to call and you can actually go to the building. So the document runner will get the card to you, but this is a way, again, a lot of our homeless population may use this because they don't have the ability to get the mail or they need it right away, the card. And so this has the phone number to call to make that appointment. And they can pick it up at our main building, the Castro building. How to apply: by mail, by fax, our Human Services website, Peak, the online application, Health First Colorado, you can actually call in, Hunger Free, and Health First Colorado is for the medical or Medicaid component for you to call and apply over the phone. Hunger Free also does that in line with 211. I would like to share one more screen though to show you a couple other applications that can be used. So I'll do this real quick. These are some apps that you can use to actually apply for benefits, check on your case using your phone. Peak Mobile actually is very small and you can use that to manage your account, but then you have My CO Benefits that allow you to apply for SNAP, which is food assistance, Colorado Works, which is the a financial program for families or folks with children, and then you have adult financial application that you can use as well, and then Health First Colorado. So this is a separate PowerPoint on Peak that I could also share as well, but I wanted to make you aware of that you have the ability to use these other platforms and using your phone. Also, that general assistance application we just demonstrated, I pulled it up on my phone and I was actually able to pull up the link and apply using my phone. So that's another option you had if you don't have access to a computer. One more thing, I wanted to make sure you had that phone number for the general assistance. And again, we didn't put that out there. We were careful about how we were going to advertise it, but the number is 720-944-2032. And again, you would use that number if you have any questions that I didn't specifically answer, or you can email me and I can reach out to them. But what they really want you to do is use the online application that I demonstrated and submit it, and then start working on all the documents you have to put together in order for you to finish that application for emergency assistance. So again, we demonstrated about mailing or faxing, the Denver Human Services website, you have the Peak, Health First Colorado, Hunger Free Colorado, and then you have the 3 apps I demonstrated. This is our website again, and what's important, if you can go to the next screen, it says, let's start where you are. That's important. And you will see there are different links that you can click on to get information. When I mentioned about shelter and housing, you see the link here, aid for older adults. Additional assistance, we showed a little bit. There was burial on that page, as well as LEAP. And then go to the next screen, please. Again, more of a breakdown of some of the services provide. And the next screen, please. And this is an example of what food assistance looks like and how you can apply online, in person, mail or fax, and the phone, and then move on to the next screen. And what I mentioned on the right-hand side of each page, this is for food. It talks about Food Bank of the Rockies, where we have that food distribution at all 3 locations every month. You can go there to find out when they're at our building. It has Metro Caring. It also has Explorer Pass, which is that EBT card you can use to the different museums that still allow it. And then also Denver Botanic Gardens Farm Stand. Next screen, please. And there I am. There's my information. I also put the link in the chat box for you to sign up for the Navigator 1.0 training. And it's 2.5 hours, and it covers all the different divisions we talked about. It talks about assistance. It talks about child support. It talks about child welfare, adult protection, and also talks about PEAK. So any other questions that I haven't answered, I will follow up, obviously, and get them to Maria.
I wanted to quickly address, I know we had a few questions about public charge, and as Kathy mentioned, our funding for the emergency programs comes through local funding. So that's different from TRUA, which may come from different sources, federal funding or state funding. So in general, overall, our emergency programs are not included in public charge. They're not assessed at the time of public charge, but we also recommend that each family member speak to an immigration attorney, since we are not immigration attorneys, and the immigration laws are so complex and cases are so complex. So overall, the answer is no, it doesn't impact public charge because of where it's funded from, a local funding. But with that, we also cautiously recommend that when people are applying, they always be honest on their application, and that they seek advice from a trusted immigration lawyer who would be able to assess their specific case more closely.
That's perfect, Victoria. Also, I put in the chat box, if you could see it, linked to disability services in Denver Human Services and City and County of Denver official website. That was another question that came up. Is there anything else you have? Otherwise, if not, it was great talking to all of you, and reach out to me at any time. And if you'd like to sign out for Navigator training, I would love to have you. I'm real excited. Also, Navigator 2.0 will be coming soon, and that's a deeper dive into all the different eligibility programs. So
the
thank you.
Question that we do have in our Q&A right now, and I'm not sure if you've responded to it, it's just a quick clarifying question. Did you say that folks that are waiting for the SNAP food benefits can be processed, can get food vouchers while they're in the waiting process?
No, the only way they can get food vouchers through that program is if there's a problem with Colorado Benefits Management System. So we call them help desk tickets. There's a glitch in the system, and for some reason, someone is not getting their benefit like they should, and it's no fault of their own, and it's no fault of us per se. It's the system itself that has a difficulty. And so in that case, we would then help with the food vouchers.
But for the most part, we asked the question about the easiest way for Spanish-speaking residents to apply for emergency assistance.
And we had said that the best thing you can do is go online. And again, if you have individuals that are having problems with translation, you can also call our general assistance phone number, and they can get a translator there as well.
And then for deposit assistance, how do they show where they've been able to maintain a unit on their own? If an agency is supporting them with rental assistance, does that allow them to qualify for showing they can maintain the unit?
And I believe they still would qualify, but I can follow up with our GA on that if they're getting help from another organization, and if we can pay the difference is what I'm assuming. So I will follow up on that question too.
Thank you so much. And then we did talk about the difference between TRUA. TRUA is coming from I believe the Office of Housing Assistance, which is a brand new office that just started this year with the City and County of Denver, which is separate from Human Services. So if you need more information on that, please let me know, and I'll try to set them up for maybe doing a 20-minute presentation on one of our parking lot sessions. Remember, our parking lot sessions is where Like if we were meeting in person, we'd have a wall where people could post questions and park their questions so that we could get to them if it was something that wasn't able to be answered during this session. So the parking lot sessions, we're actually having them virtually as well on Thursdays at noon. So if that's something that I can do for you, let me try to reach out to somebody with Truist so that they can answer those questions for you and we can have them do a presentation. Other than that, if there's other questions, we have 5 more minutes. And since Victoria and Kathy, you didn't get to answer, what's your favorite childhood or adult memory having to do with weather or just a memory? We've had people talk about playing in the rain, sledding, cooking, just cuddling up next to a warm fire. Can
I mention one more thing, Maria, and then I'll share my story?
Sure.
I put another link in there, and this is for the DHS All Communications. This is a community network email distribution list that comes from our marketing and communications department. And anybody can sign up for that, and it gives them the updates typically of what's happening in the city and county, as concerning human services. So I provided that link. My memory of snowstorms, remember one storm, I think it shut everything down, and it was way back in the 70s, so I'm aging myself here, but I remember lightning during the storm where there was like snow, then the snow stopped, and then there was like flash lightning. I had never seen that before, and I was so fascinated. Anybody else get that? Raise your hand or say yes or no in chat. It's, I've never seen it, and it was kind of eerie to have that in the middle of winter. And seeing the flash of light in overcast. Yeah, that was
yeah, there's a few hands going up.
Yeah.
And I'll share mine. Mine is just, I guess winter always and storms always bring a nice hot cup of chocolate abuelita with some pan dulce.
That sounds good.
That's memories that I continue to have during the winter. So
that reminds me, yes. Again, this was so informative, Kathy and Victoria. Thank you so much for connecting us and sharing all of that information. If you have any additional questions, we've shared contact information for both Kathy and Victoria in the chat. So please feel free to reach out to them. I think one of the most wonderful things about My City Academy is putting participants of My City Academy and making those connections with city personnel so that you have that person that you can reach out to, that connection to the city. Because it's always easier to ask somebody that you know about something that you might not know. Even though we know now as adults that there are no stupid questions, it's still hard not to feel that way sometimes, that maybe this is a dumb question and I shouldn't be asking. No, ask all the questions, and now you have 2 people you can connect to in the city of Denver, aside from me, that can answer your questions. Victoria is a huge ally and advocate, defender, goddess, warrior of the immigrant and refugee community. So we just really want to thank her for putting herself out there and doing this beautiful and sometimes heartbreaking, sometimes incredibly rewarding work. So also, Kathy, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and expertise in human services and all the services provided.